Hello, folks. This is Jason. Filmmaker faces 45 years in prison for reporting on Dakota access protests. This is about Deia Schlosberg. In an ominous sign for press freedom, documentary filmmaker and journalist Deia Schlosberg was arrested and charged with felonies carrying a whopping maximum sentence of up to 45 years in prison, simply for reporting on the ongoing indigenous protests against fossil fuel infrastructure. Schlosberg was arrested in Wjhat, North Dakota on Tuesday for filming activities shutting down a tar sands pipeline, part of a nationwide solidarity action organized on behalf of those battling the Dakota Access Pipeline. I'll leave links for all of this below. The filmmaker was held without access to a lawyer for 48 hours, her colleague Josh Fox wrote in The Nation, and her footage was confiscated by the police. Schlosberg was then charged on Friday with 3 felonies. The Huffington Post reported conspiracy to theft of property, conspiracy to theft of services, and conspiracy to tampering with or damaging a public service. Together, the charges carry 45 years and a maximum prison sentence. They have, in my view, violated the First Amendment, Fox told the Huffington Post, referring to the state's Pembina County Sheriff's Department. It's fucking scary. It knocks the wind out of your sails. It throws you for a loop. They threw the book at Deia and for being a journalist. NSA whistleblower Edward Snowden observed that Schlosberg faces more years in prison than he does for leaking secret documents about the NSA's massive surveillance program in 2013. Depressing. Awful. Deia isn't alone, observed Fox in an op-ed in The Nation. The arrests of journalists, filmmakers, and others witnessing the reporting on citizens' protests against fossil fuel infrastructure amid climate change is part of a worsening and growing pattern. Indeed, the news of Schlosberg's arrest followed Democracy Now!'s Amy Goodman's announcement earlier this week that she will return to North Dakota to combat charges she faces as a result of reporting on the Dakota Access Pipeline protests last month. Goodman, whose camera crew filmed a private security team attacking peaceful Native American protests with dogs and pepper spray, faces charges of criminal trespassing, which have said amounts to an assault on press freedom, as Common Dreams reported. It also emerged late Saturday that a North Dakota state prosecutor has dropped his trespassing charge and is now seeking instead to charge Goodman with participating in a riot, Democracy Now! Reported. I came back to North Dakota to fight the trespass charge. They saw that they could never make that charge stick, so now they want to charge me with rioting, said Goodman. I wasn't trespassing. I wasn't engaged in a riot. I was doing my job as a journalist by covering the violent attack as Native American protesters. Yeah, it was. They were sicking dogs on these soulless fucking people who sick dogs on other human beings for corporate business interests. And they never asked themselves, why aren't the CEOs here? Why aren't the board of directors here? Why isn't the CFO here? Why isn't the people that are really in charge? Why aren't they here in riot gear? But let's just keep serving surplus capitalism, because that's all this is. This isn't because we need it. Oil is $50 a barrel right now. It's cheaper than it's been since 9/11 and since 2002, 2003. It's not it's about going to stay there probably for the next year or so. We don't need this oil. This oil is ridiculous. This fracking thing is ridiculous. And this goes even more than fracking. She's just doing her job. She's a journalist who has credentials. Deia Schlosberg has won an Emmy for Gasland. She was the director of Gasland, or one of the people that directed it. Let me read on. All the way. Also, another actress was arrested, Shailene Woodley. She was arrested while live streaming a prayer action at Dakota Access construction site. She was singled out, the police told her, because she was well known and had 40,000 people watching her live on Facebook. Fox wrote, other filmmakers shooting protest actions along the pipeline have also been arrested. Journalism is not a crime, it's a responsibility. Amen to that. Fox said in the press statement about patterns of arrest. Supporters have created a petition calling the authorities in North Dakota to drop charges against Schlosberg. I suggest everyone signs this and goes online and does their part, makes a video about this, gets the awareness out, Twitter it, Facebook it, Reddit it, whatever it takes. Just get it out there, cultural jam. There's some celebrities that are involved in this as well, so she does have some support from Hollywood, and hopefully more people will start to give her money and help her defense and get this information out more. The mainstream journalists are just not reporting on this. I'm stunned. I'm not stunned because it's fossil fuels and it's oil. But what really is stunning to me is that people at the bottom still continue to do this. Like I just mentioned, why don't those guys with the dogs that Amy Goodman filmed sicking them on the protesters? Why don't they ever? Why, number one, those people are soulless monsters and there's an own special place in hell for those people. And I don't believe in God, but I believe in hell. I hope hell exists for certain people. And these people sicking dogs on other human beings for protesting capitalism, essentially and by the way, they're protesting on their native lands. How much more shit do we have to shovel down Native Americans' throats? How much more indignities do these people have to suffer? Oh, now we're going to build a fucking pipeline over your, Indian burial grounds, or we're going to build them near your community. We're gonna fuck your water up, and we're going to fuck your air up, and we're going to fuck your soil up, and we're going to disrupt your lives with that fracking and drilling. And guess what? There's not a fucking thing you can do about it. And so they go and protest. They do the one thing that's left to us. And journalists film this, and now they're looking at time in jail. So now what that's saying is what your great leaders like Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, and Donald Trump's not a leader, but he's running for president, for Christ's sake. Barack Obama, Michelle Obama, the whole Obama administration, who are supposedly full of liberals, right? That's what you continually hear. It's not true at all. It's never been true, but that's what you continually hear. Why aren't they out here saying this fracking should stop? These people shouldn't be arrested. You should drop the charges on the journalists who have been reporting this? No, because the Obama administration has created more laws than any president in history about whistleblowers and stopping whistleblowers and stopping protesters and stopping people who are trying to affect change in a legal way. It's amazing to me that a person who was supposedly a constitutional lawyer and a community activist is so anti-Constitution and First Amendment and so anti-people and labor and movements, so anti-community organizing. Isn't that amazing? And where's Tim? And by the way, the vice president for Hillary Clinton's, who will be our vice president, is Tim Kaine, this creepy, effeminate little weirdo who's fucking hates labor. I've never seen a Democrat who hates labor more than him. Maybe the Hillary and Bill Clinton, but he detests labor. He votes for anything that's not labor. He has no problem with TP, was for TPP, and then was against TPP. Now he's trying to rewrite it. He's going to be one of those people that helps get legislation for corporations through, and he's a fucking Democrat. I hate when people say that Tim Kaine somehow has some good thing about him. There's nothing good about Tim Kaine. Tim Kaine is a piece of shit. Mike Pence is worse, but he's the same sort of piece of shit. He's just a Republican, so he doesn't hide it. Democrats seem to get to, like, they wear a cloak. It's like a cloak. And, he's a Democrat, so maybe he's nicer than this guy who's not wearing the cloak. They're both evil. So let's stop journalists from reporting on everything. Let's stop whistleblowers, because we don't want corporations to have to suffer. We don't want capitalism, the very structure of our economic system that only benefits a tiny minority, 1%, even less than that, who control everything. Let them continue to do that. Let greed and avarice and venality control everything. And then because if you haven't noticed, this country's on a path downwards. We're heading towards collapse. As capitalism is heading towards a collapse, it's obvious to everybody but the American public and the American leadership, because they're doing everything they can to preserve it as long as possible. And if you haven't noticed that one of the things that capitalism has brought us, that we're one of the signposts of the end times, so to speak, of capitalism, is Hillary Clinton running against Donald Trump. That's my whole point. Hillary Clinton versus Donald Trump is a sign that shows you that they can force two people. They're so wealthy and so powerful and so large that they don't even need a Barack Obama. Barack Obama was a projection screen, right? He was a Rorschach test. Whatever you saw, yes, we can, and hope and change and this and that. And he talked like Martin Luther King, and he comes from Chicago and all of that. And I can see why that motivated people, because he had no record. He had no track record. You didn't know what he supported. You didn't know what he didn't support. And you put everything on him because he's a half black kid, and you're a liberal like me, and you were like just so happy that a black man had finally become fucking president. Finally, we saw some serious, like, liberal. We got caught up in the social bullshit of that instead of what he really was and what he really is. He's an awful, terrible man who was just like the one before him and the one before him and the one before him. And that's what Barack Obama, didn't matter what color he was. It didn't matter where he supposedly came from. He didn't care about all that. That was not what he was worried about. He was only concerned with the capitalist, powerful class. And so is his wife, and so is Hillary Clinton, and so is Donald Trump. And now you see Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, two of the most unliked human beings on the planet Earth, fed to you by the most powerful people in our country. Nobody wants either one of these human beings to be president. Nobody, other than people inside their own families and the very companies and shit that convince you that these two people are good. Nobody likes these fucks, and they're forced upon you. This is the end of capitalism. That's what it is. And this thing that they're doing to journalists and whistleblowers, this just goes into that. This just shuts it down, keeps their mouths shut, and lets corporations run everything for surplus capital, like Marx said. That surplus capital is everything. It's the profit from all of the shit. After we pay all of our bills and we take care of everybody, it's the shit that's left over that gets hoarded by 1%, 0.001%, and then they use that very surplus capital, money, etc., power, influence, and they use it against you to convince you and change laws in America and convince the public that somehow this is just. That corporations should be able to do pretty much what they want to do if they have the money, and that's because they can. I mean, that's really what it's about. And they're showing you, they're exercising that in your face every fucking time you see Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump talk. Thank you for listening, and get this word out. You know, if you start a Twitter, start a YouTube page, you don't have to make bad videos like I do. You don't have to make terrible, fucking horrible videos like I make. You can actually just get this information out, talk to your family about it, talk to your friends about it, you know, the normal stuff. Just have conversations about this, about how we need to talk about what's going on in our society, and journalists should not be going to jail, and we should not be fracking, and we should be thinking ahead. We should be thinking that we need to be vocal for people like this, for Deia Schlosberg and anybody else, and Amy Goodman and others, because when we are for them, then when we need them, they'll be around for us. Thank you for listening, and have a great day.